Well, welcome back to the next installment of the Blazer project. I've been doing a lot of work and not filming any of it, which makes for great YouTube. But here's a rundown of a few of the things I've done since the last video. The interior is back together, aside from the back seats, but I don't ever use the back seats anyway. There is zero mouse smell. We'll see how long that lasts. I finally started removing the rubberized undercoating that was sprayed on the rocker panels. I think mostly just to hide this abomination. Yeah, that is all like wire mesh and spray foam and some Bondo. I'll probably fix that at some point, but it's not really a big concern. I made an attempt to polish my headlights and corner lights, and it actually worked pretty well, so I'm happy with that. And here's this side. I also got the rubberized undercoating off of this. The rest on this side isn't nearly as bad, especially 24-year-old car in Iowa. Could be a lot worse. I'm still working on getting the adhesive off this side. This door, well, I know it came from a different vehicle. It had the trim along here, and they had ripped that off and sprayed undercoating over the remaining adhesive strips. So once I cleaned off the undercoating, I found the adhesive, so I've started removing that. It also had a pinstripe up here. I tried to get that removed. I'm not quite done yet, but it looked kind of weird having a pinstripe just across the door. I finally installed the hood release cable. Now that I put it in, I wished I would have got a better one. I got like the cheapest one, and it's so flimsy that it's like I wish I would have spent an extra $10 or $20 now to have a better cable, since it took hours to install it. But whatever, it works. I don't need pliers in here anymore. I've done a couple rounds of putting engine degreaser underneath the car and hosing it off, trying to source the leaks I have. And I knew the power steering rack was leaking, and that appears to be the worst leak. There is still something dripping at the back. It might be the oil pan gasket, or it might be something up underneath there where you can't see because it bolts to the transmission there too. It's not that bad, so I'm just gonna let it go. I think the valve cover gaskets fix most of that, which brings me to that part. I got new valve cover gaskets installed, as well as plug wires in spark plugs, cap, and rotor. The thing runs awesome. A couple of the spark plugs weren't even screwed in finger tight, so that was one reason why it would sometimes sputter and not run great. So that was a huge win. I also attempted to replace this clip for the cruise control. This is a part made by Dorman, and I ordered it. It said it fits a 2000, but it didn't fit mine, and I think that's because this engine came out of a 98. I'm not positive. 98. So I assume whatever the parts car they got the engine from and they got the door from, they also got this piece of plastic from. So that had the wrong size hole. I had to drill it out. It barely worked. It's probably gonna fall off, but I tried. The next thing I'm doing, which I probably will film, is this is the transfer case I got out of an allegedly good running low mile S10 that got rolled. So I was thinking I'll just clean it up and put it in. I'm not going to bother taking it apart. But the more I thought about it, there are things in there that could fail, and if I put it in and it doesn't work and I have to take it back out, I'm going to be really mad. So I might as well take it apart, just replace some seals, and just make sure everything's in order. So I've started pulling off a few things and been letting some oil drip. So that'll probably get filmed, but I want to get the transfer case in before winter. We'll see if I'm that ambitious. So that's pretty much it for right now. I'm not going to do a how-to because I don't know how to do it, so I'm certainly not going to tell you how to do it. There are some pretty good videos on YouTube of people pulling these apart. This is a NP or NV 236, and it is very similar to a 246, which is what is in the full-size pickups. So if you're trying to find information on how to tear these apart, how to get parts for them, how to put them back together, and you're not finding much when you search for 236, look for 246. You will find all kinds of information, and it's really similar. A lot of the parts interchange. It's just slightly less heavy duty because it's for the Blazers and S10s instead of the full-size trucks. Not too bad at all, and the little case protector clip is still in place, so that is a good sign. Pickup screen has hardly any debris on it at all. The magnet has hardly any debris on it. Man, everything in here looks great. Well, that was about the first big win I've had on this Blazer project. I don't know if you remember, I think it goes back a lot of episodes when I first got that transfer case. I knew mine was screwed. I was gonna have to get a new one. So I was like kind of on the fence. Do I want to spend, you know, maybe a few $100s for one that's supposedly good? Or did I want to spend a little bit more for one that's actually refurbished and I can trust? And it's kind of on the fence. One pops up on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, it's about an hour drive, but it was $40. And I was like, okay, $40, that's a good price for a core, right? I could rebuild it and still have a pretty good deal. Talking to the guy, he said it was in like a friend's S10, super well taken care of, low miles, totaled it, and it got pulled out of that. It was like basically good as new. And, you know, I thought, sure, it's good as new. We'll see about that. But for $40, you know, I figure that's a good core. And holy shit, you guys, this thing was perfect inside. I mean, like, I've never taken a transfer case apart before, but I've watched literally hours of other people's videos on YouTube of them rebuilding this exact transfer case. And the things people were finding and considering like normal wear was pretty crazy. And this thing looks brand new. Like the plastic sliders for the shifter, they look new. I mean, everything looks new. So that's absolutely best case scenario. I'm gonna clean it all up and put it all back together with new seals, O-rings, and I should just be ready to go, which is amazing. I can't express how great it is that I finally got a win on this. So right now I've got some engine degreaser on the cases. Obviously I'm going to clean them up before I put it back together, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have to get anything for this but case bolts because they always disintegrate, and some seals. And I will get one of the case savers to keep the oil pump from wearing the case out. This still has the original factory clip in it and it's still in place, but I think I'd heard that according to like the GM official instructions, it says if you take one of these apart, even if that clip is there, remove it and put in their upgraded version, which is not the same thing as the case saver, but it's, you know, same idea. Protect the side and not fall out. These are prone to falling out, I guess. So that's pretty much it for that. I'm gonna keep cleaning up this case and I'm gonna order a few parts tonight, and maybe next weekend I'll be putting this transfer case back together, and then I guess there's nothing stopping me from putting it in. I might have four-wheel drive this winter. I guess we'll see in the next clip in probably a week or two. Well, it's been a couple weeks, but I think today's the day. I'm gonna finally get this transfer case swapped out in the Blazer. So I've been doing a bunch of work off camera, just little bits here and there with a couple hours when I have some free time. So I haven't really been filming stuff. Let me turn you around, show you my pile of parts, it's ready, and explain what I've got finished. All right, so here's my mess. So here is the new transfer case. So I ended up replacing the seals that you see here, and then the cover for the retaining clip and the seals on this end. I got new bolts. The old ones were completely rusted, which is very common with these. Let me find one for example. So yeah, they all kind of look like this. And you don't want them rusty like this because then water will get in, blast off the coating, and this coating is what protects the steel and the magnesium from galvanic corrosion. So I got new bolts and I got a gasket set. I got a case saver, the case saver that replaces this clip, which always falls off. Luckily it hadn't yet in here. And what else did I order? I ordered something else. Oh, the little plastic sliders that go on the clutch fork thing. They look kind of like this. This set happened to come with kind of two sets. I don't know, it might have been for a different transfer case, but three of them fit mine. That's the kit I got. These studs that I reused, these I just cleaned them up on a wire wheel, put a nice thick coat of paint on them. So hopefully that will suffice. I'm reusing all my sensors. I'm just assuming they're working until I know otherwise. Same with the shift motor. When tearing apart the old one, I found that my mount was completely broken through. So I ordered a new one of those, which is right here. So I got a new transmission mount, and then I got all new U-joints. I got Moog heavy duty ones. Do I need heavy duty ones? Probably not, but for the few dollars difference, I figured it doesn't hurt. So I think that's basically everything to get you up to speed here. Let's go under the truck. All right, welcome to my new home. I've got most of the bolts out holding the transfer case to the transmission. I've got both U-joints, the caps off, but I haven't gotten the drive shaft to actually budge off the U-joint yet, so I guess I'm just gonna keep wailing on that with a hammer. I think that's basically it. Everything else is unhooked. that's where I'm at. I'm just gonna set this up on a little tripod, hopefully point it at something recognizable, and put you on time lapse, and we'll see what I can find. Got my best helper today. I can't taste good. All right, so I didn't think I was draining my transmission here as part of this job, but a whole bunch of fluid came out of these seams here, so maybe there is fluid in there. I've never done this before, but I thought since there's a seal at the end of the transmission and a seal at the end of the transfer case, there wouldn't be any fluid in between them, but I don't know. What do I know? Maybe this is part of the reason I leave a huge spot everywhere I park. Well, this has been a goddamn nightmare. Drive shaft is out. What I finally had to do was stick a pry bar in the U-joint and kick it as hard as I could with my foot to get that thing loose. It was just held on that hard with rust. Again, welcome to Iowa. Took off the transmission brace. Gonna clean that up and throw some black paint on it. And here's the transfer case. Finally, it's coming loose. I've already got the bolts out. What really sucks is that this front drive shaft will not come out unless I remove the exhaust or pull the transfer case back, drop it around that exhaust pipe. And I really don't want to take off the exhaust pipe, especially if you look at the nuts on that clamp. So I just haven't been filming for a while. It's honestly been a couple of hours to remove the last 3 bolts that hold the transfer case to the transmission. I'm just gonna set back up on the tripod and try to pull this thing down, so then at least if it lands on me and crushes me, it can make it in the video and at least give you a good laugh. Now this thing is wedged in here. I can't get it to go anywhere. Try to take out the bolts that hold that adapter between the 2 halves. Maybe that'll help. We'll see. But man, I'm really not looking forward to putting the new one back in because I can't just beat on it and not worry about it falling because it's good. This one's garbage anyway. So I'm gonna cut away, take out some bolts, mess around, and come back. Well, man, that was a long and not very satisfying day. So to recap, everything holding the transfer case to the car and the transmission is off, completely unhooked, and I don't seem to have enough room to pull the transfer case out completely. Those splines go so deep into the transfer case that I just can't get enough distance. I mean, as you see in these shots here, I've got a good 2 or 3 inches that I've moved it out so far, and I'm just about to hit one of the cross members for the frame, which is welded in. So I don't know what you do at that point other than pull the engine up and out of the engine bay a little bit to get more clearance behind it. There might be enough flexibility in the motor mounts that I can kind of spread them apart, but I haven't figured out how to do that. Somewhere I have one of those porta power things where it's got different ram cylinders and a pump. Maybe I loaned it to someone, I don't know where it is, but I'm thinking maybe I can put it in there and just get another however much I need, but it's not going well. But at least I've got both the drive shafts out, so I can get those cleaned up and painted and put the new U-joints in. I guess that's about it. God, it's hard to believe that's been like 4 hours and that transfer case is still in there. One interesting thing I did find, I pulled off the shift encoder thing. The one that was on it was missing a bolt, missing the gasket, and missing one of the plugs that plugs up a hole. So like oil was pouring out of it and there's all this dirt in it. So that could certainly be the reason that when I would try to shift, it would just kind of like blink and then say error. I bet that thing is screwed up. Now that's not the only thing screwed up, because my transfer case had a giant hole in it and drove around without fluid for who knows how long. So I definitely need to get the new transfer case put in, but that might explain the electrical part of the problem. I guess I'll be back at this tomorrow. I don't know if I'm gonna have the balls to get back under the car. I'm just kind of done with it right now, but at least maybe get some of the other stuff cleaned up. I don't know, I always say I love working on cars and then it's time to do car shit and I'm I'm over it. All right, well, guess we'll see you in the next clip. Thanks for coming along on this journey of misery with me. Sorry about the noise. Today was a Hawkeyes game, so everybody's going home since Kinnick Stadium is just a couple miles down the road here. So I was just out here cleaning up the drive shafts and the cross member and a couple other things to get them ready for paint so I can put this thing back together. And I just thought I'd cut in here to show you. I found another mouse nest inside the transmission mount. I thought I was done finding mouse nests, but apparently they were under the car as well. All right, I'm gonna get back to wire wheeling. I'm not filming it because it's not very exciting to watch. It's a beautiful day to remove a stuck transfer case. So I came out here last night, got my drive shafts and the cross member cleaned up and painted. I threw on a coat of KBS rust seal stuff. All I had was gloss. I would have preferred satin, but I used what I've got. That's what I use. I'm a fan. I use it on everything. Got some of my bolts and nuts cleaned up and painted with just spray paint. I don't know how well it's gonna work, but it's better than nothing. See, I got one U-joint put in. I haven't pressed in the ones for the rear U-joint or the rear drive shaft, but that's not as important because I could do that after the transfer case is in. This has to go in first. Here's my pile of carnage. None of these old U-joints were completely failed. They all still had some grease in them, but not a lot. Like as you can see here, some of these are getting pretty dry. It was kind of funny because I've never done U-joints before. So I was doing a little bit of reading and just to make sure I knew everything. There weren't any like silly tricks or anything that I didn't know. And the thing I was reading said, okay, now there's the main kinds of U-joint attachments you're gonna come across are internal clip, external clip, bolt-on, or the dreaded melted plastic that General Motors had a tendency to do in this era. And I encountered all four of those in 3 U-joints. I don't know why they couldn't just pick one and stick with it. But anyway, they're off. I'm gonna set you up on a tripod, get underneath the car, and try to get this old transfer case out. My Porta Power, turns out I had loaned it to my brother and he returned it. So I'm gonna get under there and see what I can do. There it is, the bane of my existence. I do not know why that was so hard to get out of the car. I don't know how much of that you've seen on the time lapse. I just filmed it, I haven't looked at it yet. If there's anything you can actually see, but I had to smash out sections of the case to get it out. So I don't know what that means for getting it back in. But you can see where it was hitting. There's an area rubbed off here, rubbed off here. I ended up reaching up and taking out a few bolts just to give me a little bit more room. And also there was a bracket on there to hold wires. I don't know how you would ever get that in and out once it's in the car. It's in there so tight. Well, I think I'm gonna cut this video off there. I was hoping to have this video cover the reinstallation, but I've already had to edit down hours of footage. And this video's been going on for almost a month, probably over a month now worth of clips. So I'm gonna clean up this mess and I'm gonna call it a day and try to get this video up. So in the next video, hopefully you'll see me putting this transfer case back in or pushing the car into the street and lighting it on fire. One or the other. But I've had enough. That was a terrible experience, and I'm really scared putting the new one in, how that's gonna go. I don't know if I've learned anything. I only got that out by destroying it. But it's Sunday, I go back to work tomorrow, so I have a whole week to think about it. We'll see you in the next video, hopefully driving off into the sunset in 4 low. Thanks for watching, see you next time.